Combat, it's killing. That's what it is. And it's done in an environment that is often as difficult as you can possibly imagine. Extremes of climate, it's uncivilized, and women can't do it. The requirements for strength and endurance render them unable to do it. Doesn't work.
I knew the moment I stepped in over there at Bragg, I was like, we are being watched and something bigger is shaking out, I guarantee it.
You're looking at each other. Is she as tough as I am?
It was a bunch of female alphas.
You're doing this for every other woman that's gonna come after you. Any argument that a man's gonna have about why women shouldn't be allowed to be here, don't contribute one iota.
I thought, war? What are you doing here?
It was a man's club. Like, that is the lion's den that we just walked into.
For 8 years of a war, we didn't see the other half of a target book.
You bring a white man in a very intimidating US uniform. A lot of women will feel uncomfortable.
We're gonna go into that darkness and just be like, you need this done? Okay, let's go.
This is not what I was expecting at all.
Nobody cares if you're a man or a woman. You are defined by your actions purely.
Having this one woman on target freed up probably 4 guys.
I would have liked to have seen that play out a little bit.
I start to wonder if you're there too long, if whatever gains you made start to erode themselves, and soon you leave in the same place you started. What does winning look like?
War's not stopping. How long has America been around? How many wars we been in? Conflicts? Only thing changing is the date.
All right. Welcome back.
Misfit Nation. Misfit Nation. The Misfit Nation show.
We are a show founded by a veteran and hosted by 2 veterans and a military spouse. Our mission is to get people to tell their stories to the world. If you're an author, share your tips with the Misfit Nation. If you're a musician or an actor, our audience needs to know how they too can get into the business. Coaches, we love our coaches. Come on and share your tips with the Misfit Nation to help them become better versions of themselves. If you are a corporate leader or an entrepreneur, come on and show how you did it and how hard you have fought for success. If you are a veteran, first responder, or Gold Star family, we would love to have you come on and share your story with the Misfit Nation. We always have time for you. If you're feeling down, alone, or starting to see the darkness, stop. Think about those who are around you. You are not alone. You will be missed. If you feel like your problems will be a burden to those in your inner circle or feel embarrassed, dial 988. If you are a veteran, take option 1. We need you to keep pushing forward. Don't make a permanent solution to a temporary problem. If you are a new listener, welcome to the Misfit Nation show. Be sure to subscribe to our show on your favorite podcast app. Also on our YouTube channel at @the_Misfit Nation. Subscribe and click the bell to keep you up to date on our latest episodes and all of our news. You can also find us on Heroes Media Group and About Face Radio. Now, let's get to the show!
All right. Welcome back to the Misfit Nation show, Thursday after dinner edition. It's been a good week as far as shows go, a kind of a sad week as far as family life goes, as our oldest dog Enzo is on his way to the Rainbow Bridge, and just keep him and the rest of my family in your thoughts and prayers as you think about Big Enzo and all the things he's done to you. If you came to our house, this is his time for peace, and let's give him some. So tonight, I have a great guest. He's coming to us all the way from the East Coast, Hilton Head Island. He's a communication coach, podcast host, and a recovering college professor with over 20 years of experience helping people become powerful communicators. He created the formula for public speaking, a step-by-step system that simplifies the art of speaking in the confident connection formula, a proven method to craft an elevator pitch that makes people listen, remember, and want to connect. So without further ado, let's welcome Mr. Dr. Tim Newman to the Misfit Nation show. Welcome, Tim.
Rich, thanks so much for inviting me on and being able to share with the Misfit Nation crew here. But first, so sorry to hear about Enzo. I mean, it's tragic, traumatic for the whole family.
Yeah, he's an old feller. We rescued him in 2019. He was about 4 years old when we got him, I think 4 or 5, and we've done our best with him. And it's just, I guess, medical wonders when things happen to him. So I don't know how things happen or why things happen, but we just got to be there for him now.
Yeah. And there's something about rescue animals that really build that special bond, especially those that have medical problems. Actually, the last pet that I had was that way, and I haven't been able to get another one, and it's been 15 years just from that attachment.
Yeah.
That's the primary reason. There's other reasons too, but I don't want to go through that again. I mean, right. God. So
it rips at your heartstrings. It
really
rips at everything. Yeah. So Tim, I didn't want to bring you down. I just wanted to let the rest of the Misfit Nation know that. Sorry, everybody. But, tell us a little more about you, Tim. How you got into communications for one, and also becoming a college professor and doing that for 20 years of experience. 20 years, that's a long time to be with I guess, molding the minds of the youth or college students.
I tried anyway. It's this story goes back a long way, and I come from, number one, I come from a military family, and one of the things that I learned a lot from my dad, but one of the things I learned from him was to be able to talk about things that are important to you and be able and be okay with that. So I don't necessarily like talking about myself, but I'll talk about the things that are important to me. And this is one of them. So go back a long time ago, back when I was in high school. I was the epitome of an idiot. I mean, if you look at the picture in dictionary, idiot, saw my name. I was there to play sports, hang out, go to parties, do all those things. I wasn't there to get an education, even though I was relatively intelligent. I didn't really put forth any effort, but I knew I wanted to be a teacher. And my dad, in his infinite wisdom, at one point, I knew I'd frustrated the hell out of him. He sat me down and said, "Look, I'm done dealing with you. You're going to graduate, and I would suggest that you join the Army." And I took that suggestion to heart, pretty much right as he said it, because I kind of knew the situation that we were in, and I knew that there were certain things that I wanted to get to in life, but where I was, I just couldn't do it. And with the history of my family, I knew that I wanted to be airborne. So I signed up for that. My father was in the 101st Airborne Station at Fort Campbell, Kentucky, where you spent a lot of time. He was actually loaded up in a plane when during the Cuban Missile Crisis. Oh, wow. And obviously that got diverted. But I went up my father. I was stationed with the A2nd Airborne. So yeah, I know it's surrounded by greatness, right? And I'm a couple of things about me. Number one is I like to have fun. I don't take myself very seriously, and I'm better now, but I'm very good at getting out of things that I don't want to do. Back then, the best way to get me to do something was to tell me that I couldn't do it. If you told me I couldn't do it, then okay, I'm going to show you. And I'm scared of heights. So so I was airborne infantry in A2nd Airborne Division, and this was back before Panama the first time, and so being promoted at that point was very, very difficult because of the point system, and so we were stuck at E3s and E4s for a long time. There's no way to get enough points to go to Ranger School to get the points to be promoted, and so back then when I knew everything, I said, okay, I'm going to get out and I'll go to school and use my college fund and GI Bill and become a teacher. So that's kind of what happened. Now, again, very good at getting out of things I don't want to do. When you go to school, even back then, you had to take this this public speaking or speech class, whatever you want to call it. And for whatever reason, I said, I'm not doing that. Again, I've been an athlete, was in the military, leading people, leading men, but the thought of getting up in front of somebody and giving a speech I just wasn't going to happen. And so fast forward to my senior year, and my advisor says to me, Tim, if you want to graduate, you have to take this class. And so okay, there's nothing I can do. I got to take it. So the very first time I'm supposed to get up and speak, it's my turn. Again, back before we had computers, but not like we have them today. We didn't have PowerPoint. I had an overhead projector with those. I don't know if you remember the cellophane things that you wrote on. That's what I had. That's what we had.
Wow.
And so I get up in front of the classroom, right? And I set my notes down. I'm getting ready. I'm nervous as hell. And as I get ready to start talking, I threw up right in front of class.
Outstanding.
Okay, exactly. And so it achieved the goal. I got out of giving that speech. The class got a good laugh. I ended up passing class and graduating and so forth. But I knew in the back of my head, I knew that wasn't going to get me where I wanted to go. So I had to figure that out. Right. Fast forward, went and got my master's degree, did some other things as I'm trying to transition into teaching. And one of the things that I learned that I didn't really learn, but I knew it, but I started putting it in practice, was the only way to get better at something is preparation and practice. The more you prepare, the better you're going to be. The more you practice, the better you're going to be. So that's what I did. I just started researching and practicing. And so when I was teaching, it was fine. Fast forward, I become a college professor. And when COVID hit, there's a lot going on, a lot of family stuff going on. And I just kind of gotten stale. And, it was time to step away. And that's kind of where I'm at now. So, stepped away, really doing the coaching with public speaking, podcasting, and personal development.
Outstanding. I mean, it's a big pivot, of course, to go from in the classroom instructing and
it is
molding those minds, and then to flip it to now you're behind the mic or you're behind the podium trying to tell people how to become a public speaker and coach them. The best through your lessons, life's lessons learned, and trying not to have them go in front of the overhead projector and let the cookies crumble.
Exactly. Yeah. And you're absolutely right. I haven't been this fulfilled doing professionally in a long time. And I love this. I love what I'm doing. I love the interactions with people, but there is something that I miss. I miss that personal interaction, that personal, being with people every day, being in the classroom, being in meetings, going to have coffee with colleagues, stopping by, hey, how was your weekend? All those things about being, an actual human person, those things have kind of gone away. Yes. And we have to remember that, it doesn't really matter. Everything's about personal relationships. Doesn't matter what we do or where we go. It's about personal relationships, connections.
And
exactly.
COVID was the catalyst to losing the human connection. But before that, it was the social media thing and then walking around with a computer in your pocket and no one's able to look up. I can't look up because I have to be looking at this. If I get a like and miss it, oh my God. Or
the whole world's going to come to an end. Exactly.
Jesse had a Diet Coke today. What am I going to do if I didn't know that? And, and now it's really bad now when you do that. I wrote a book right at the end of the first year of COVID called 13-Step Guide to Success. And one of the steps was to look up 3 inches and see the world. Or kneel down and pet a dog. Make that person happy, make that dog happy. People just don't look at each other. They're staring down and they're not in the world.
Yeah. And so, I was at Georgia State University, the last institution I was at, and it really kind of blew my mind, walking around the streets of Atlanta, and all these students are literally have headphones on and their face buried in their phones as they're walking down the sidewalks. And I'm like, you guys are insane.
Yes.
It's literally insane. First off, take the headphones off, get your head up, figure out what's going on around you. See, see what's in front of you. I mean, there's so many issues with that all the way around that was really concerning.
Yeah, situational awareness is horrible right there, because especially in Atlanta, there's a lot of in every big city there's bad things that happen.
Right.
You keep your head down, you're going to become that bad thing that happened, and it'll be on the news. So you got to pay attention. You still got me?
Yeah. I'm so yeah. It's the, but that's the younger generation, and now it's not even the younger generation. Let's just say, my kids are in their 30s. They're doing that now, right? So the younger generations are now becoming the mid generations, and again, I'm not perfect, and by any means, but when I go outside, the phone goes in the pocket. I don't make phone calls. I don't make text messages. At dinner time, I really try and put the phone away, have a conversation with my wife. If I'm in a conversation, put the phone away.
Yeah.
It's part of that, that part of that connection, and making the other person who you're communicating with feel like they actually matter and what they're saying matters, and building that connection in that relationship.
And kind of having that active listening and being present,
Exactly.
is awesome. And I've seen people in restaurants while the host or the serving staff comes up, and they don't even look at them, because they don't know what to do if they look at them. If they look at them, it becomes it'll become pixelated, I guess.
Yeah,
if they look off, it's, oh my God, it's a weird thing there. It's a person, and they're talking to me. They don't even know how to order, because they're so busy on their phone. I wanted to order off the QR code. I'm sorry.
Oh my God, it's bad. But anyway, that's where we're at.
Yes.
And we try and combat it and do the best we can. And I've got grandkids now, and actually, my kids do a really good job with the grandkids, and they're all relatively young, but limiting the screen time.
Nice.
Whether that's TV or whether that's an iPad, this is what it is, and there's no discussion about it, and getting them outside and playing. I mean, go outside and just play, and not have structured play, but actual just play.
Yeah, go get hurt, do something.
Exactly.
Get dirty, have fun. While you were at Georgia State, was that when it was blowing up Georgia State? I mean, I know it's spread throughout Atlanta now. It took over the old Atlanta Braves Stadium and stuff.
Yeah,
they're trying to take over as many buildings as buildings go in decay or get abandoned. Georgia State's been picking them up. Were you there during that drive?
Yeah, so I got there 2 years or 2 years before they bought the old Brave Stadium. So I did see a big transformation there, and it's they've done a really good job there. They really have, and understand that there's a difference between the athletics and the academic side, and both sides have done a really good job. They really have, but from the athletics perspective, buying that stadium and moving the football team there, and they just built a convocation center there a couple of years ago, and now having a place for them, for the indoor sports, men's and women's basketball, volleyball. That's really kind of changing the culture of that campus. It's the largest institution in the state of Georgia, but nobody knows it. It's a commuter school.
Right.
So trying to get kids to stay on campus, go to these games, and build that culture, they've got a long way to go, but they're doing a really good job of it. They really are.
I noticed I haven't really stopped in Atlanta a lot. I usually do a little quick bits out there and go. But I drive through to go down to Savannah and stuff. And I keep seeing the spread of Georgia State throughout both sides of the highway. So it's amazing to watch that grow.
Yeah, it's like I said, they're doing a good job, both academically and athletically.
That's awesome. That's good to hear. Both sides are both growing at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
And now in your coaching career and your public speaking communications, what do you see the biggest obstacle for success for our young professionals that are just coming out of college and going out and trying to beat them streets?
They don't know how to have a conversation. They don't know how to build a connection. They don't know how to build relationships, because if you think about how they've gone about it, again, COVID, I think, accelerated a lot of things. But even before that, all they would do is they would text each other, without really necessarily having a conversation. And so much is lost in text conversations. And we can go down a big rabbit hole for that. But they don't know how to call. I say pick up the phone, because that's just, we used to have to pick up. We actually had to pick up the phone and dial it, right? But they don't know how to pick up the phone and call somebody and try and set an appointment.
Right.
They don't know how to. So one of the assignments that I always did was they had to do an informational interview, which meant that they had to, contact an industry professional, set up a time for them to meet, and go actually interview them. And kids would do it kicking and screaming. Can I do it by email? No. What? yeah, that's not an interview, right? I mean, I want you to actually be in front of them, talk to them, build a connection, and build a relationship so that you can actually, have human communication experience. You can see facial expressions, you can see body language and body movement. You can truly understand tone. And, that was something that was, they thought that, the reality is that they've been fighting that for more than just from COVID. Let's go back to about 2010 is when they really started fighting that.
Yeah, definitely. You can go back to that time period and see, even in movies at that time, people would say in the movie, "Why are you calling me? You can just text."
Yeah.
And that was pushing that culture. Just to, I can just put emoji, some kind of sign, and you're supposed, I understand what it means somehow. Not me personally, but someone else does.
It's somebody else, right.
I need my decoder ring I used to get in my cereal boxes to get those things.
Yeah, I have no idea about this emoji stuff. Just type out the word. I mean, just
please.
If you're going to email me or if you're going to text me, at least type out the word.
And the informational interview is, especially for a college student, that's perfect for networking. If they want to get into that industry, now they're getting a free look as an informational interview.
Yeah.
To find out what goes on behind the curtain. So then if they do apply to that said company, now they know the insider stuff, and they should be able to walk into that interview confident and get that job.
Right. Exactly. And, I would suggest that informational interviews are good for anybody who is either looking for a career change, looking for a new job, or, you're currently in a position, but you're looking for another position.
Right.
Go talk to people. I mean, go see what it's like at company X. I mean, you're at company Y. What's it like over here at company X? For whatever reason, your spouse is getting ready to be transferred. Yeah. You know what? And this company over here has an office in the place that you're going. There's nothing wrong with going and talking to people and saying, look, this is what's going on. What's available? What's it like here? What's the culture like?
All right, we got two questions from the audience here. I think one is from inside your family here, maybe.
Okay. This is my wife here. Here we go.
All right. How do you network and do those things if you're an introvert and then comfortable talking to people in general? Thank you, Jennifer.
Well, this is hard, and understand. I'm definitely an introvert. I would much rather poke my eyeballs out with a toothpick than go to a networking event. I really would. However, what we have to understand as we get older and as we become professionals, we have to understand that there are things that we have to do whether we like it or not. And again, I'm the master at getting out of things I don't want to do. But if I want to get from point A to point B, we've got to do some of these things, right? So when you, as an introvert, when you go, make sure that you're researching the people that are going to be there. Know who's going to be there so that you know what to talk to them about. Oh, Steve, don't you work at FedEx? What's your job like at FedEx? Whatever it is, so that you go in and you have some things that you can talk about as opposed to going in cold. That to me is one of the biggest things that you can do is research who's going, and make sure you map out who it is that you want to talk to. And if that's all you can handle, if you only can talk to 5 people, then talk to 5 people. Talking to 5 people is better than talking to no people. But make sure you have that plan, map it out, do your research, and then go and do it. And then if you have to step back, get your bearings again and then head back in, that's fine too. But you have to know who you are and know what makes you tick and how you work to be able to do these types of things.
Definitely. That's outstanding. Hopefully that satisfied the questioner. I'm sure you'll find out.
I guess I will.
Another question from at Today's the Day. What's the biggest mistake most people make when trying to communicate under pressure? Thanks, Today's the Day.
That's another really good question. I think the biggest thing is if they don't know an answer, they make something up. Yes. Here's the thing. If you don't know the answer to the question and you make something up, people can tell. And it's truly okay to say, you know what? I don't know. Either let me go do some research and I'll find out, or you can say something, I don't know that, but this is what I do know about the topic. Yeah. Or direct it to somebody else. You know what? This isn't necessarily my area. Rich, this is more your topic area. Can you answer that question? But do not answer. Don't say something that you have no idea about, because you're going to be found out real quick, and then your credibility in everybody's eyes goes way down.
Yeah, had a friend he does a video a day or a video every other day, motivating people, and that was one of the things he talked about. He has a small farm here, and has goats and many horses right now. And someone asked him, how do you raise llamas? And he could have just said, oh, you can do it this way. But he said, I have no idea. But there's a lady down the road who has them. You might want to talk to her. And that was trying to prove that point you just said. If you don't know, you don't know. And it's better to say, I don't know, and live to fight another day than say and wind up losing all your credibility.
Yeah. And Rich, think about it like this. There's no way, it's not possible for us to know everything, even in our own little niche, right? Because there's so much information out there with the internet, social media, and all these other things. It is not possible for us to know everything about even our niche. So it's okay to say we don't know. We'll get back to you, or direct them to another person, or a different place to get the answer. It actually builds your credibility.
It'll build definitely your credibility and probably build your network as well.
Yeah.
When they say, oh, he always reaches out to the expert, at least he knows a guy or a girl who can help me, and he'll point me in that right direction. And if they can't help, their network will help me. And I think that's even better, because people ask me questions. I say, you know what? I got a guy, and
exactly.
I'll call that guy. And if he don't know, then I'm in trouble, but I'll try to find another one.
Exactly.
You got to keep searching, I guess, and try to make things the right way. So that's awesome. That was a great question there too. And I got another one just popped in from 369 Real Good Time. It says,
it wasn't me.
It was me. 369 Real Good Time. How does your formula for public speaking break down the fear factor for beginners? At 369 Real Good Time. Thank you. We haven't really got into that yet, so I guess you can go over it now and rock it out.
So, but before we actually even get into what that formula is, the first thing that we have to do is understand where that fear is coming from. That way we can address that piece of it. Is it afraid of messing up and sounding stupid? Is it you don't think you know enough? Is it's not your area? Is it you've committed to doing something that you really shouldn't have committed to? So whatever that fear is, wherever that fear is coming from, we have to address that first. And then we can get into how we're actually going to build your talk or build your presentation or your speech or your interview prep, whatever it is. But the very first thing after that is you have to know who you're talking to. Who's your audience? Do a deep dive research on that audience. So again, if you're going into a job interview, this is a perfect scenario, with kids getting ready to graduate and getting jobs and that sort of thing. When you go into a job interview, you should know almost everything about who you're interviewing with. How long they've been at the company, where they go to school, what was their career progression, what their job title is, what their duties are, what that company that you've applied to, what do they do, what's their mission statement, what's their vision statement? What are their values? You should know all those things going into it, so that when they start asking you questions, you can tailor your questions based on those things that you already know. You're not wondering, oh my gosh, if I say this, is that going to align with their mission? If I say this, is that going to align with, what the job description is, or those types of things? So you need to know everything that you possibly can about the individuals that you're interviewing with and the organization that you've applied with. Those are basic things that don't require intelligence. They don't require smarts. They don't require strength, speed, all those other things, all the physical traits. That just is hard work, breaking it down and separating yourself from your peers. Because I can promise you, people, especially at the younger generations, are not truly doing that research, and they're going in blind.
Then they're saying they're not given a chance.
Yes.
At the end of that. So it's the side of the coin they're not talking about is the things they don't do prior.
Exactly. So let's just take a step back and talk about the informational interviews. And so what we would do is at one point I helped them create questions, and everybody in the class would use these 12 questions. I ended up stopped doing that because it ended up me being creating the questions for them, right? But when you go into that informational interview, one of the questions is not how long have you been working at this job. You should already know that, because you go on LinkedIn, it tells you, right? You should be going in and asking true, thoughtful questions about something that you're actually going to learn from, and that this person that you're doing that informational interview knows that you're serious. And you're going to get so much more out of that experience when you do that.
Definitely. And LinkedIn is a great networking tool. It's a great tool in general. And I would tell soldiers as they're transitioning, if you're not LinkedIn, you're linked out.
Exactly.
Because it is a great resource for everything you want, and you can put your whole honest resume on there. And if an employer is looking, if you apply for a job, your employer is going to go right there and look.
Yes.
That's the first place they look and see if it matches what you submitted.
Right.
So you have to make sure you're clean on both sides. So I guess it's a checks and balances thing now to help both the employer and the employee as they go forward.
Yeah.
And this came in from my brother. He said he's worked retail for over 30 years and can talk to people one-on-one, no problem. Put him in a room of 20 teaching a class, and he has to look at the ceiling to be able to do it.
See what I'll do is I'll bring you a trash can and just and you'll be fine. I'm just kidding. Okay, so here's the thing. Okay, this is how I look at it. Why do you have that fear? Why do you have that? What is it that's holding you back? And now, keep that in mind, but also keep this in mind. What's your strengths in dealing with people? For me personally, I work much better in small groups, one-on-one in small groups. I can work in large groups, that's just fine, but my strength is working in small groups, one-on-one. That doesn't mean that I can't do the others, but what is it that's the fear? Is it that because remember, that self-talk, it's us talking to ourselves. And let's figure out why, whatever it is that we're saying to ourselves, change that mindset, channel that energy into being, a powerful communicator, whatever it is. Could it be that your ex-girlfriend is going to be in that 20 people and you don't want her there? Or what? I mean, it could be anything though.
Right.
I mean, it's you would be surprised at some of the things that trigger people to have these, I don't want to call them irrational fears, because they're real to these people going into them, but the way that they're approaching it, they need to just take a step back, take a deep breath and say, okay, I'm feeling this way because of this. Okay, now let's deal with that. Let's get that out of the way. And now we can actually deal with how are we going to share the message? How are we going to tell the story that's impactful, that people are going to lean in and listen to us?
Yeah. And whenever I think of public speaking, I think of the movie Made in Manhattan with Jennifer Lopez.
Oh, yeah.
And the guy that was running for office, anytime he'd speak, he'd have a pin, a paper clip in his pocket.
Yep.
And he'd play with it in his pocket or pinch himself with it to kind of get him focused somewhere else instead of the audience. And I remember when in school we were doing it, my dad would tell us, just look above them and make like they're naked when you're talking. And that's what I've done that since I'm a little kid now. When I go into a group, I look at their foreheads, but I imagine everyone's naked in front of me, so they're just as embarrassed as I am up there, and I just talk.
You know, first off, nobody wants to see me naked.
Yeah.
But I just did I just did a video on the whole idea of a fidget, fidget tool, or whatever you want to call it. And especially with people with ADHD. And I do the exact same thing. I carry something in my pocket. I've got ADHD really, really bad, but I carry something in my pocket. And that's something that keeps me grounded. It's something that keeps me focused on the message. It's something that keeps me, on target. I can feel myself when I feel myself getting off message. I put my hand in my pocket, I pull it out, I start playing with it, whether it's a pen, whether it's a coin, whatever it is. So that's generally a tool to help people stay on track and stay on target.
I mean, definitely it worked for him in the movie, of course, because it's a movie. But I'm sure it works for you, obviously.
It really does. I mean, it's because it takes your mind off of whatever it is that racing or that extra thought, and puts it back to where it's supposed to be. Again, especially if we've done the research and we've done the practice, right? We always have to come back to that, because if we haven't done the work, it doesn't matter what we have in our pocket. It doesn't matter how we envision the audience. If we haven't done the work, it's not going to go off well.
It'll go just like the acting like the expert when you're not.
Exactly.
It's going to go downhill very quickly.
Very quickly, right?
I'm doing a kind of a basic, kind of like a TED Talk on how to interview people on podcasts, and part of that is listening to them and not winging the interview.
Mm-hmm.
Not only will your guest know it, but your audience will know that you're winging it as well.
Exactly.
You'll be stumbling, you'll be fumbling, and you won't have anything coherent to say, and it'll go bad quick.
Yes, it will. Yes, it will.
You Are It just asked a question. What are 3 traits every confident communicator shares? Thank you, You Are It.
Wow. 3 traits. Number 1, they're good listeners, which is something that people very rarely think about. To be a good communicator, you have to listen. You have to listen to understand, not listen for your time to talk. So you have to be a good listener. You need to be able to connect with the audience with stories. It's to be able to get them to lean into what you're saying. So you have to listen. You have to be able to tell stories. And I would say, you've done the research with your audience. I think I know I keep coming back to that, but to me that is probably that's just so important. Coming back to who your audience is and knowing who they are, because that's going to help you develop that story and share that story.
It definitely will. And like if you're giving a keynote speech or speaking at a professional development conference, you should know the people in the audience, what niche they're in. If they're widget makers, if they're Microsoft engineers or Google engineers, or maybe they're just Joe and Josephine off the street trying to find their way. You need to know where they are and meet them where they are, not try to bring them to you.
Exactly.
I think that'll make make the speaker more comfortable. I'm not sure if that's something you would share with your mentees.
It definitely is, especially as we start moving through the formula. When you start to put your content together and start building the expectations, and then how are we going to tell that story? What's the story? What's the start? What's the middle? What's the finish? How's it going to come across? What language are we going to use? What terms are we going to use? So there's all those things that really do kind of play into it, and understand that a lot of this, you have to know who you are as an individual. What words and terms do you use? So for me, I've been a college professor, but I think you can tell just in this short exchange, I don't use big words. I use very simple language. I don't use long sentences. It's short, to the point, sharing information. And there are times when we can get long-winded, but I know who I am. I know how my brain works and how the best way for me to communicate. The longer my sentences go, the more off track I get.
It's hard to come back on them rails after that.
It really is. I mean, we can go there if you want.
So now you started the formula. Let's go a little deeper into the formula and how you came up with it.
Okay, so that's another really good question that was really kind of developed over a number of years. Because as I actually started my teaching career in high school, and again, if you know anything about me, that didn't last long, didn't go very well, because at that point in my life, it was either black or white. There was no gray area. We were going to do things the right way. Everybody was going to do them the right way. There was no question about it. We were just going to do what we need to do and get it done. And that doesn't go over very well at the high school level. And I wasn't prepared to make any changes at that point. So I knew really quickly I wasn't going to last. So I ended up teaching in college. And one of the things that I really wanted to stress from the very beginning was communication skills. And I knew I wanted to do that because I was so bad at it. And I didn't want my students to go through some of the struggles in their life that I had to. So it was, I felt it was my responsibility to really kind of hone in on that. And I was doing some things. And one of the things that I harped on a lot was the preparation and the practice. But I would tell the students, get rid of the filler words, get rid of the uhs and the ums, get rid of them. And at one point, one of my really good students came to me and she was really upset. I mean, upset. And she said, I'm tired of you telling us to get rid of these filler words, but you've never told us how to do it. And I was like, oh God, you just punched me in the stomach. Because she was absolutely right. She was absolutely right. And that's when I knew that I was doing it wrong. And as much as I thought I was helping them, all I was doing was creating more anxiety. And that's when I decided, okay, I've got to figure out a better way to get this across to a population of people who have no idea how to communicate. Because even at that time, even if you were to take that speech class or that communication class, whatever you call it, they don't tell you how to actually communicate. They just don't. And as I'm trying to help, all I'm trying to do is help them. And so I figured I better come up with a better system. So that's how I developed this over time. Many different iterations, but I wanted to, again, I'm a simple guy. I wanted to make sure I kept it simple so that anybody can understand this, put it into practice, and start making changes to their everyday communication tomorrow. If you do the work, that's the thing. So it's broken down into 4 sections. ACEs. A is for audience, knowing your audience. Do like we talked about over and over again. Doing that deep dive on your audience. Understanding them, everything that you possibly can about it. C is for content, not for cookie. And it's see, that's you see with this, right? And it's every time I talk about this, that's where my mind goes. C is for cookie. C is for no, it's not. C is for content. Do not say cookie. But
you got it in there anyway.
I have to. And here, this is where you pull all that content, everything that you know, all your research that you've done. You've got all your audience information, you got all your content information, and then you start looking at the expectations. What are the expectations of the people in the audience? What are your expectations? What do you want your audience to get out of this? Do they match? If you've been hired to speak, what are the people that's hired you expectations? What are the conference's expectations? And now you're starting to look, okay, now we can get rid of some of this content because that's not going to match. That's not going to match. And now when you come down to the script, and the script is the catch-all. And when I talk about script, I'm not talking about typing it out word for word, and you may do that, but there's other things in there. It's what's the story? How are you going to take this information with this audience and those expectations, and how are you going to build that story from start to finish to get them to number one? You've got to hook them real quick. You got to get them hooked within the first 5 to 7 seconds, maybe 10 seconds is what you've got, and follow this story of whatever information you're sharing with them. what terms and words you're going to use, what visual. The last thing that you're going to do is visuals. That's the last thing that you're going to do. And then you're going to take these things, and now you're actually going to practice. And when I talk about practice, what I am not talking about is sitting at your desk and reading your notes. That's not practice. That's sitting at your desk and reading notes. When I'm talking about practice, and now I'm sounding like Allen Iverson, I'm actually talking about you're actually standing up, doing the presentation like you would normally do it. Maybe in a space like it would be. Maybe you have people critiquing you. Maybe you're filming it, and you actually go through the presentation. If it's being filmed, you watch it back, and you can look and you can see, oh, you know what? This part doesn't really land. I need to change the wording. You know what? I need to and I don't do a whole lot of stagecraft with beginners, because that's not really the point. I want you to be able to share your message first. But let's just say, you know what? Maybe this is where we pause for effect. Maybe this is where we change our tone and we become more direct, or whatever it is. That stuff comes with the work of practice based on everything else. So it's not just, you know, looking at your audience and the content and then throwing something together and thinking it's going to work. You have to actually practice it and then actually try it and be critiqued on it.
And take that critique and learn from it. Don't take it as an insult to you. Take it as a way to make you better and learn from it. Learn from it and grow. Don't use it as something to cry about and say, I'm never going to speak again because he said I was horrible when I said this word.
Right. You know, it's really funny. At least I think it's funny. Those types of things for me, that's the learning. The hard part's the learning, right? The hard part is being told, you know what, you missed the mark.
Right.
And that's okay, because I don't care who you are, whatever industry you get into, whatever you do, you're not going to hit the mark every time.
Right.
And as you get better and as you start moving up the ladder, what you did before is not going to be good enough for what you do now. You've got to improve. And that's part of learning. That's part of being an adult. That's part of being professional. Being okay with putting the work in, being told that you need to improve, and then doing the work to actually improve.
Definitely. And putting that work in really helps. Like I was talking earlier about giving a speech and doing interviews, and I wrote it out and I sat there. I was sitting at my chair here, even though my desk is rose up. So I'm sitting there typing like 8 bars here. And I finally stood up and I started just saying it without looking at it, trying to say as much as I could without looking at the words. And now I've been walking around the room doing it, even though I'm going to be right in front of this camera, but I'm still walking around the room. So when I speak, I like to move. I like to keep moving around. I guess that's my tick. I have to do that. But to stand here and look at the camera is very hard to do that and do the speech, because it's kind of weird having this blue light in my eyes. But I'd rather know what I'm saying and do that. And I'm just kind of look over the camera, and I can't make like the camera's naked because, well, it is, but I'm still getting speech across.
Right. Exactly. But you know what? Giving a talk in front of a group of people and then giving a talk in front of the camera is very different, right? Because so like, and I'm just going to, you know, give the viewers an example here. So like right now I'm looking at the camera, but I don't see you. But now, Rich, I'm looking at you right now and I'm watching you, but all of a sudden there's a disconnect because I'm not looking at you.
Right.
You know what I'm looking at you, but I'm not looking at you.
Looking at you, right.
And so
weird. Yeah.
So, and it took me forever, and I'm still working at it. And that's the other thing. It's okay to admit that you're not doing great, but it took me forever to get over that hump, because I need to see your reaction. I need to see your are you engaged? Is what I'm saying landing? And that's a hard part of you know, these types of presentations.
Definitely. You're not getting instant feedback, I like to call it.
Right.
If you have an audience, you get instant feedback. At least one person will have an emotion when you're saying something. Either they're going to laugh at you, or they're going to smirk, or shake their head. Oh, this guy, he's talking again. And,
right.
But when I'm just talking, when you're talking to the camera, like, all right, what do we got, bud? Thanks.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And that's a practice. Like, I know you have your podcast and this podcast. I try to look at you just like you were just doing, look down at you, but also trying to look up at the camera. So I'm kind of looking at both places and gauging what's going on.
Right. Right. And it's hard, but you get used to it eventually. And the more you do it, the easier it becomes, just like anything else. Just like standing up on a stage, just like standing up in front of a team meeting.
Yep.
Being okay with presenting your information and get that thought out of your head that people are judging you, because here's the reality. They're not judging you. They're not even thinking about you. They're thinking about that other people are judging them.
Right. Or
Let it
what's
go.
for lunch. Yeah.
Exactly.
Depending on when you're speaking.
Hungry. Exactly.
Cookies. Speaking of hungry, our next question comes from Cornbread Good.
It sure is.
If someone wants to start improving their speaking skills today, what's the first step you'd recommend? Thank you, Cornbread Good.
Thank you so much. And I think you led right in. I think the first step would be to contact me, and we can figure out what it is that you want to work on. You know, because we all have different strengths and different skills and different abilities. But if, you know, where are you? And let's work on the things that you're truly struggling with. You know, is it delivery? Is it developing the message? Is it telling a story? And then we can develop a plan around those types of things. You know, the class is great. It's good for everybody. It's a good overview. But to really be good, let's focus on the things that you really need to do to get better. You know, for example, let's go from an athlete perspective. Okay, maybe they don't need work on, a basketball player doesn't need work on footwork. They need work on rebounding technique or boxing out, whatever it is. So let's do the footwork exercise, but then spend a lot of time on boxing out technique or whatever it is. Let's do the work where you really truly need it.
And solidify that area, and then each area will grow from there.
Exactly.
So if it is boxing out, if you can box out, now you're going to be able to rebound. So the box out gets you the space to rebound, and then maybe you can get the ball back in the hoop after that, or throw it down for a pass.
Right.
Sports. I always like to use sports too. Touchdowns. You're on the fourth quarter, 4-yard line. What are you going to do? You have to be able to do stuff, and that's how, you know, we grew up playing sports outside. So you had to always think that way.
Exactly.
Now getting that equation to this new generation is a little harder, I think.
It is. That's why you know, I stick to golf. You know, because it's and there's so much there to think about and get better at too. But you know what, it's just different now. But here, Rich, let me just make one more point with this too. Think about it like this: what team ever goes out to a game and hasn't practiced?
Yeah.
So why would you get up on stage, or why would you go to a team meeting, or why would you go to a job interview and not practice? Right. Think about that, because it's a skill. Public speaking is a skill. Communication is a skill. It takes work. It takes practice.
And always bring your best game when you come.
Yes.
If you're not going to come with your A game to your interview, that means you really didn't want that job to begin with.
Exactly.
And you're just kind of checking that block that I went to look for a job, and that's my job for this week, to look for a job. So that's what I'm going to do.
Oh God, no, we're not doing that. That's just too much. That's too much work to just check a box, right? To apply for a job. That's a lot of work to go through that thing. If you're going to do it, just put the time in, put the effort in, and do it well.
And you might surprise yourself.
Yes, absolutely.
Find something that you actually like, and like to wake up to go to every day and be happy. But
exactly.
Sometimes you got to hit someone in the head a couple times to get them to go in a straight line. So it helps them out. I know in the intro we talked about the 30-second elevator speech a little bit. How do you get people to understand the value of that, for one, and two, how to create their own?
Rich, that's a great question. First off, what people need to understand is when you meet somebody for the first time, they're making an evaluation of you visually in the first 3 to 5 seconds. It's not right. It's not wrong. It just is. It's just human nature. And we have to understand that. We have to accept it. I mean, you can fight it if you want, but it's just what it is. It happens. Okay. When you are meeting somebody for the first time, you've got about maybe 10 to 15 seconds to get them to listen to you. Here's a good story. And a couple of reasons why I've created this. If you're ready to laugh, I would strap in on this one.
All right.
So we were at a college function and some students there. And the college president comes up and chit-chatting a little bit with him. And the person next to me, I introduce this person. And the college president says, "Oh, so what do you do?" And the person said, "Well, I've always wanted to steal a Tasty Cake truck."
All right.
Exactly. And that look that you just gave is a look that the college president gave me, and he turned around and walked away.
Wow.
Okay, there we go. All right. So understand what happens when we're put in positions that, again, stressful positions like the one question that we had. Right? If we have something that we've practiced, that will alleviate all those types of things. And the way I look at it is when you're giving your elevator speech, you have to give them something that's going to provide them value and that they're going to remember you by. So, as you introduced me, one of the things that you said was, "I'm a recovering college professor."
Right.
Okay. And as that was very intentional from my perspective, as I was, working on messaging, as I was transitioning out, I was trying to figure out ways to get people to remember me who I am. Oh, that's the recovering college professor, and this is what he does. And so a lot of times when I introduce myself, I ask them, did you ever get nervous doing public speaking? And I said, and whatever they say, well, I threw up, and now that's what I do is I help people become better public speakers. So I give them something. Wow, that's going to stick, and you only have a certain amount of time. So I go through these exercises with individuals to do this, and here's one of the key pieces to this. One of the things that I ask them to do is to get with people in their inner circle to give them tips and advice. Who am I? Because we see ourselves in one way, but the people in our inner circle see us in a little bit different way. So get advice from them. Oh, I didn't notice that about myself. And if we can use that information to provide value and get somebody to remember us, let's use it.
Definitely. And the elevator speech along with your resume, think of your resume going in front of a HR director or the actual interviewer. They got about 30 seconds to look at your interview, your whole resume. So that first sentence is really what they're looking at. So like for you, where it says recovering college professor, I laughed at that 4 times as I was reading through it to try to get that out the right way the first time. And I said, that's an awesome line to put in there because it sticks to you. It really sticks in there. And the other things you do just flow with it, but that is what is the highlight right there.
Right.
Without even talking about throwing up at the podium. That's later on.
So we'll get to that.
That's a bonus prize.
Yeah, because I'm either going to get you one way or another. I mean, that's
you got them.
Exactly.
All right, Tim, our time has flown by. It's already 58 minutes in here in a great chat. I've learned a lot. I know that. I know my brother did, and other audience members who asked questions. But as we start to close up here, we like to. Oh, here we go. Since that Cornbreak Good asked that question, and I know how much Tim cares about the military, ask Tim to share free items or discounts to listeners. Thanks, Jennifer.
Thanks. She's awesome. Obviously, I would not be anywhere close to who I am without her in my life. So thank you so much. And she's absolutely right. The military means so much to me, and if I'll provide you a discount code for my class. It'll be 50% off for your listeners.
Awesome.
And so I'll provide that to you. But thanks for reminding me on that, Jen.
Awesome. I'll put that on our social medias. I'll put it on all the posts with that, so that if they want to jump in and get some great training and learn from someone who's been on both sides of the spectrum of public speaking, they can learn a lot. And I'm really literally saying both sides.
Exactly.
So, Tim, what we usually ask people as we're starting to say our goodbyes here is, one, what's the best way to get in contact with you?
The best way to reach me is at the website, timnewmanspeaks.com. There's a place there you could send me an email. You can actually sign up for a free 30-minute consultation. I'd be happy to talk to you. You can send me an email, whatever that is, but that's probably the best place to reach me.
And next thing we always do is ask you, our our guest to provide the Misfit Nation with 3 things they can start doing tomorrow to be better humans.
Oh man, I got a whole list. That's a great question, and I hope people are actually thinking about these things and putting them in play. First and foremost, put the phones down and interact with people. Put the phone down and actually have conversations and build relationships with people. Right now, it's AI this and AI that, and it's all well and good. It's important. We need it. We're going to be using it, but nothing is ever going to replace interpersonal relationships. Put the phones down. Number 2 is be open to listening to other people and take a genuine interest in what they're saying and who they are, not just perfunctory listening. Actually listen to what they're saying. You may learn something. And, number 3 is give people grace. We are so quick right now to fly off the handle. And, I had a conversation today, actually. If you ever ask me how I'm doing, I'm going to say I'm doing awesome.
Yep.
Whether I'm doing awesome in a good way or I'm doing awesome in a bad way, because it doesn't really matter. Why would I want to come and dump my stuff on you when I don't know if you're going through stuff or not.
Right.
You don't need to be taking my stuff.
Right.
It's not. Give people grace. I generally believe that people want to do well. I generally believe people want to give the best they have and do well. I don't believe people want to take advantage of other people. I don't believe people want to do bad jobs. Give them grace.
Definitely. I mean, you gave me grace today when I spelled I put the wrong name on the flyer.
Well, it's funny. It's because I sent that text to my wife and kids, obviously, and my daughter said, "Who's that guy?" I said, "I don't know. He's going to fix it. Don't worry about it."
It's a good name, though.
It is
my stage name.
Maybe that's gonna be my new alias. I don't know.
Outstanding, Tim. Thanks again for hanging out tonight and taking some of your time from Hilton Head Island to hang out with us here in the Misfit Nation and share a lot of great knowledge with us. I've had a blast chatting with you tonight, and I hope you did too.
Rich, I really did. And again, I appreciate the time. I appreciate your service. Thank you so much for what you've done for our country. I can't tell you how much I appreciate that.
No problem. Thank you. Misfit Nation, thank you for, again, chiming in with your questions and being awesome tonight and hanging out with us for the whole hour. We'll see you Sunday night with our next show. Till then, be humble, stay hungry, and keep hustling. Good night, everybody.
Thanks for checking us out and being a part of the Misfit Nation show. Don't forget to visit our website at themisfitnation.com. That's themisfitnation.com. Check out all our past episodes and get some of the great Misfit Nation gear for you and your family. As always, be humble, stay hungry, and keep hustling because we are
Misfit Nation. Misfit Nation.